Good morning and welcome to another lovely edition of Quest Today on Quest Television. Yes, today is the 19th day in the month of March, the year 2024. And yes, it's a beautiful, lovely Tuesday morning here in the studios in Ughelli, and I do hope you're having a lovely Tuesday morning as well. It is now time for us to look at the headlines that made it to the front pages of the dailies this morning. My name is Orikemi Mariam, and with that being said, welcome to the newspaper review here on Quest. Making a return back to the studio this morning, we have 5 newspapers. We have the Guardian newspaper, the Punch newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune, the Daily Trust, as well as the Vanguard. Yes, the Vanguard newspaper. You should also know that the newspaper review here on Quest is sponsored by the Vanguard newspaper. To them we give all the credit. But with that being said, I have a guest here with me in the studios. If you're an ardent viewer, an old viewer, you already know who that person is. But for those who are new here on the newspaper review on Quest, well, I have with me the unordained bishop, the bishop who might never get ordained. But yes, he will still continue to do what he ought to do as a bishop. He goes by the name of Comrade Efe Odomo. Good morning, Comrade.
Yeah, that's how you pull my legs again. No, I've already contacted my lawyer, and we are looking at the filing any moment from now. You saying that I will never be ordained.
Let me guess. It's your lawyer that is going to ordain you at this point.
No, my lawyer will take you to court for saying I will not be ordained.
Okay, so my own lawyer will take you to court for not being.
No, your lawyer cannot take me. Your lawyer will
I've known you for about a couple of, at least a good number of, at least a year plus or 2 years. You've still not, this ordainship, it's somehow.
Transition does not end.
Well, Comrade, at the end of the day, we end up taking ourselves to court. But as at this point, let's first of all, let's get down to the reason why we are here in the studios, and it's a newspaper review. And of course, we'll be starting off with the Guardian newspaper. And on the front page of today's Guardian newspaper, well, the major headline there reads, inflation and rising construction costs, low and middle class defer home ownership plans for food. Yes, is the major headline there. And well, added to that is a picture below, so you could make more sense of that headline. But what I think what they're trying to say is that the low and middle class of Nigerians now choose food over, owning homes and stuff like that because of the situation of the economy. We'll get more details on that on page 6 of the Guardian. Moving away from that, court convicts 5 for murder and kidnapping in Rivers. That's a headline you can continue on page 6. And also moving on, we have Settle Nasu and Sanu members urgently, NLC tells the government. It's making it into page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Looting depicts misrule and misery and decadence in society is a headline there on the front page of the Guardian, where you can read more on that on page 12. But moving on to other matters, Tinubu meets Edo APC chiefs over state crisis. What is going on at Edo State? Well, you can get more details on that on page 5. Sanwo-Olu, ex-governors and others call for new constitution. I wonder what this constitution is going to be about. Well, but you can get more details on that on page 7. And the next headline there states, terrorism. Ohaneze cautions Tinubu as gunmen abduct dozens in fresh Kaduna attack. Well, I don't really know what's going on in the north, comrade. But the issue of insecurity is at its highest at Kaduna. Well, Kaduna and the other northern states.
As an investigative journalist, don't you think it would be better you go and find out?
Well, that's the thing. I am not an investigative journalist. I am a reporter, basically. I'm a presenter. So,
are you afraid?
But comrade, you can do it because I know you have a lot of dealings in security matters here. So you can do it. But you can get more details on that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Implementation hurdles for copious provisions in new Electricity Act is another headline there on the front page of the Guardian. You can read more on that on page 4. And what the final headline here says, metering gaps remain despite 273.3 billion naira loan to discos for meters and others. Where is that money going to? Well, you can get more details on that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's what you can take on the front page of the Guardian this morning. The next paper for review is the Punch. And on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, the story there, well, it's always a puncher, and it's a sad one. Says soldiers killing, Army and Delta community defer over reprisal as troops arrest 20. The writer there says Army accuses community of complicity, and Defense Headquarters releases photos and names of fallen soldiers.
They are so rest in peace.
They are so rest in peace. Such a sad one there. Also, another writer there says Delta governor Delta governor visits Okwama, meets with JTF commander, reps urge restraint, and IYC condemns attack. More details on this on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. But below that, we can see pictures of the fallen heroes. It's quite a sad one there indeed, especially with the pictures I saw this morning. Quite a gruesome one,
disturbing.
Quite very disturbing one, quite a sad one there indeed. But may their souls rest in perfect peace. Moving away from that story, and above the masthead, dollar supply rises to $11 billion, and naira closes at 1,572 naira per dollar. More details on that on page 21. On the cable cut, to say telcos pledge 100% voice and data services today. Yes, I think they've been able to sort out the cable issues that were underneath the ocean or the sea per se, and so yes, everything has been restored back to order is what they're trying to tell us. But more details on that on page 22. Rep Summon Edu, RMAFC, over George's poor pay. Quite an interesting one there. Are the judges being paid poorly?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But get more details on this. If you're conflicted, like comrade, and if you're Domo and I are on this particular headline, get more details on that on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Withheld salary, Sanu and Nasu strike grounds. Sanu and Nasu strike grounds varsities. Well, we are back to this again. It seems as though we are back to this issue.
It's a recurrent decimal.
Yes, a recurrent decimal it is. But more details on this on page 20, especially if you know you have kids in schools. Moving away from that, 2,814 schools registered for NSCDC security arrangement, says commander. More details on that on page 8. Tension in Ogun as transport unions clash over ticket sales. It's making it to page 4 and 5 of the Punch. 87 abducted and fresh Kaduna raid. Borno bomber dies. At this point, we're still having incidents of we're still having bombings. It's quite disturbing. But like I said, more details on that on page 2. EFCC recovers 324 houses and documents for Kanu pensioners. Is making it to page 8. And well, that's much we can take on the Punch, the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Over to the Nigerian Tribune. Well, there's not much on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Well, a headline there says restructuring. Nigeria has only 2 options, and it's coming from Anyauku. The writer there says Abuja should not dictate to states, says Sanwo-Olu. New constitution or nothing, says Adebanjo. Amechi, Fayemi, Amosu, Aregbesola speak on Nigeria's future. And NAS should give a new constitution in 6 months, says senior advocate of Nigeria. Which particular one? Well, you want to get more details on that, go to page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Gunmen abduct 87 in Kaduna village, is making it to page 10. And on page 29 of the Nigerian Tribune, alleged terrorism finance, court orders Binance to release data to EFCC. Yes, you can get more details on that on page 29, as I stated earlier. And well, that's so much you can take on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Let's move over to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Let's say the headlines that the Daily Trust have for us this morning on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Yes, 86 abducted in fresh Kaduna attack is making it to the front page, the big story there on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. 73 cattle rustled in Plateau. Bandits taking over our farmland, say Southwest farmers, and defense chief alleges plots to cause mayhem. Those are the riders under the major leading story there, but you can get more details on that on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper for this morning. Moving away from that, we have undersea cable cut, business owners count losses and services restored. More details on that on page 22. And Yauku Adebanjo, an ex-governor's call for new constitution, is making it to page 13. Sanu and Nasu ground activities adversities, NLC to join action. I do remember very well that the NLC did give a period of time for the government to go back, put things in order.
They're always giving time. Nothing comes out of it.
Well, on the headline here, NLC to join action, as Sanu and Nasu grounds activities adversities. Well, we'll come back to that later, but you can get more details on that on page 19 of the Daily Trust. Moving down, no reprisal attack over troops killing, says the military. Well, the military has come out to say there was and there is still no reprisal attack over troops killings, but you can get more details on that on page 4. Gaza now world's largest open air graveyard, says the EU.
Definitely, yes.
Wow, quite a way to coin it. Yes, but you can get more details on that on page 8. Court injunction stopping swearing of Plateau APC lawmaker, says governor's aide. It's making it to page 33. And Natip arraigns Alliance Hospital and staff over organ trafficking. Quite an interesting one there as well. You can get more details on that on page 5, especially if you know you patronize that hospital. But yes, like I said, page 5 has that story. And well, the chart below is added to is in conjunction with the leading story on the front page of the Daily Trust. It says we can see a chart depicting the recent kidnappings and killings in Kaduna State. 8 incidents in 3 local government areas in 30 days, and so far we have 452 people, 452 plus victims at this point. And well, get more details on that on page 4, as I stated earlier. And that's much you can take on the front page of the Daily Trust. The final paper for review is the Vanguard. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, the major headline states, aftermath of soldiers' killings, bloodbaths in Delta, villagers flee and hide in forests. Military on rampage, arrest community leader and others over alleged harboring of perpetrators. Troops stormed by also community, raise buildings, some fear dead. Oboriwori visits community. What triggered the bloodbath? Everyone wants to know what triggered the bloodbath.
Definitely.
Yes.
If they don't tell us what triggered it,
what triggered the bloodbath?
Everybody will have his own version.
Yes, everyone will have his own version. So we should get a straight version for the people to know. Well, that's another writer there. Resort to propaganda by Okwama community, callous and totally condemnable, says Army. Well, we have a lot of headlines here, a lot of writers. Rather, it says let's just take the final one. It says there will be measured response, injurious consequences for perpetrators, says the Defense Headquarters. Well, more details on this on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving above the masthead on energy crisis, it says vandalism, debt, and others hinder 8,000 megawatt supply. This is a report. Vandalism, debt, and others hinder 8,000 megawatt supply. Well, get more details on this on page 24, especially if you still have hope for electricity. Let's move away from that. Nigeria doomed without new constitution. Yes, making it to page 8. Also, an Edo State and Edo Guber, APC unveils Itahosa running mate. Tinubu predicts victory for APC, presents party's flag to Okpebolo. PDP picks Ogiem as Igodalo is a running mate. And well, that's it on page. You can get more details on that on page 7 of the Vanguard. Moving on, we have Ibadan Secular Road, over 6,000 residents to be rendered homeless. It's making it to page 10. And on padding, Obi calls for review of 2024 budgets. Will that happen? Well, it's another interesting one there. You can get more details on that on page 8. Okay, let's move over to sports. It says African Wrestling Championship, Nigerian wrestlers go gold wire in Egypt. Yes, you can get more details on this. It's as if the women are now winning.
Hope Egypt is not close to Gaza.
Egypt is, comrade. Egypt is indeed close to Gaza. Are you trying to say you should send our wrestler and boxer over to Gaza to go and defend them?
No, you said it too.
Comrade, you like to throw shade, but it is what it is. Get more details on that on page 30. Now let's visit the Mr. and Mrs. column. Because some of the headlines here have been gruesome. Let's take some first? Let's of course. Well, at this point, the Mrs. is speaking first.
Always on the forefront.
No, just for today. Well, she says, I know you like eating apples after meals, but I couldn't find your favorite, so I bought another type. And the man now says, what type of apple? And she replies, pineapple. Women are natural born managers. When the desirable is not available, the available becomes desirable.
Yes. When a desirable is not available becomes desirable.
Well, at this point, we've taken all the headlines that made it to the front pages of all the dailies I mentioned earlier, which is the Guardian, the Punch, the Nigerian Tribune, Daily Trust, as well as the Vanguard newspaper. And at this point, it is now time for us to move over to Comrade, to enlighten us on some of these headlines that have made the rounds, but also know that you can be a part of the show. What do I mean by that? You can call into the show and state your own opinions on the headlines that have made it to the front pages this morning. You can state your own suggestions, your own advice, whatever it is that you have on your mind. But do not forget, this is Quest Television. You have to keep your words, PG-13 at this point. Yes, you know, you might be passionate about the headline that made it to the front page, but be careful with the words you use here on Quest Television. Well, the numbers are still the same, 091-3865-9453. I'll take numbers again, 091-3865-9453. When you call into the show, you state your name, you state your location, and of course, you have your say. And well, before we wait for those, or rather while we wait for those calls to come in, comrade, let's look at the headlines. Let's look at this one that's, well, majors. Let's start here with Delta State. A lot is going on right now in Delta State. Delta State is hot as far as I am concerned. Well, bloodbath in Delta. Villagers flee high-end forests. Now, from the former, let's see, some other headlines I took here, which, frustration, I think it's of the Daily Trust newspaper. A headline there says, no reprisal attack over troops killing. This is coming from the military. But on the Vanguard, it says, well, villagers are fleeing and hiding in forests, and houses have been razed and all of that. Now, what even brought about, what triggered this bloodbath, first of all, in the Okwama community? And also, at this point, where are we on this? Where are we right now on this case? We do know that Governor Sheriff Oborevwori visited the community to go see if he could sort out the issues. But so far, we are not able to hear it. Journalists are not even allowed into the space.
Yes.
So it's as though we are in the dark right now. What is going on? What brought about this bloodbath? And what's the state of things right now?
Miriam, number one issue, what is happening there is a military action. Journalists are barred from such issues because it will reveal the actions of the military, the plans and the strategies they are adopting.
Okay.
But when they say there is no bloodbath, it is a norm with military actions. No military man will tell you we are leveling the place. It is a war strategy. Even when they remove the whole community, raise it to the ground, they will tell you there is no reprisal attack because they are protecting their own integrity. But we do know quite well that from the news we are hearing, filtering in from different angles, the cause of this brouhaha is not far fresh from a community struggles over land. You are struggling over a land that you never created. You are struggling over a land that you never knew how it got there. The forefathers, the founders of the communities have all died. They left those land behind. You that is fighting, you also die. You will leave those land behind. Your grandchildren up to the time of the end of the world will be dying and be leaving those land. Then you are fighting to kill yourself over it. I think it is stupidity.
Well, okay, so basically you're saying it's a land dispute. It's
land dispute between Okuma and Koloba. What do they call it to? Then from the version of the Okuma, they said because the other side has a big man in the military, he brought military to intimidate them, and they didn't even know that they were military. They thought they were civilians in camouflage uniform. That does not mean that you should take that type of action you took. You kill somebody, you removed his head, you tore his tummy open, you threw the person into the river so that the person will never float. That is an absurd. Even you don't kill an animal like that. You don't kill an animal like that. So whatever they get now, I will not say that they deserve it because of human beings. Souls are also going. But I think they shouldn't have gone the way or gone far as they did, because human life is very sacrosanct. Even God does not kill like that. Before God does anything like that in those days when we read from the Bible, he will have sent his prophets ahead. It is when they refuse to heed that he can release his plague. But with what is happening now, it is an absurd. A lieutenant colonel, 2 major, 2 captains, with officers, with men of the Nigerian military gone like that. One thing we should understand is, if we allow the South, let me use the word South now, to lose faith, or the military to lose faith in the South, it is going to be a real chaotic situation. Because if you have no value for your military, if you have no value for police or another paramilitary, anything can happen. Nobody comes to your aid. We are enjoying some relative peace today because these people are still in charge. The very moment they say they are no longer interested in your affairs, then it will be everybody's community that there is no law. But all I just want to say is the military should please temper justice with mercy. Yeah. Because with what is going on now, in the next 100 years, that war can never be settled. Because those who have lost their loved ones, their properties, and they still want to take revenge tomorrow against the other community. So we should please, pleading with the military, pleading with Mr. President to because it's only Mr. President that can call this
to order
now, because he's the commander-in-chief. Let him please do the needful. We should not lose more souls. We should not lose more properties because all these people belong to Nigerians. They're all Nigerians. So we should please tamper justice with mercy. Let them withhold their peace for now and let proper investigation take place.
Yes, proper
because
investigation.
When things like this happen, everybody comes with his own version. They should make it a free dialogue, not trying to meet some people they should not talk, create fears of people they should not talk. Come out, tell us exactly what transpired. Let everybody air their view. Then they can now come up and have a white paper. Who is guilty? Who is not guilty? What do we do from here? We have done this. Let us hold share our sword. Let peace reign. That's the only thing we should be talking about now.
All right, let's move away from that to another matter that seems to be pressing our necks here in Nigeria.
My neck is free.
Yeah, so for comrade. Let's move to another matter. Yes, Sanu and Nasu ground activities at varsities. Yes, and NLC to join the action. Like I said earlier on, NLC did give the federal government an ultimatum, up to a certain period of time, 2 weeks, to come back, to go in and come back with answers to their points, their demands, and at this point, the varsities have now decided to go on strike as well. Well,
I think NLC is now becoming a Nigerian strike for salaries.
Strike for salaries coming.
Yes.
Now our kids are at home. As it seems, the universities have shut down.
To me,
are we going back?
We are going back.
Are we going back to the issue of this? How many months strike was it?
There was 8 months strike in Nigeria.
Strike.
Nobody said anything about it.
Are we going back there?
We are trying to beat the Guinness Book of Record by having 1 year or 2 years strike, unending strike, and let our children be at home. And those are the things that are leading to social vices we have today. So you are supposed to be in school learning, but rather you're on the street. Say you are pressing. If you are not pressing, you are committing one crime or the other. Yesterday on my way home, I saw some boys, 3 of them, they were no more than this. If you see the type of fight those guys engaged in, 2 to 1. I stopped, I intervened, I held one of the boys, dragged him to his house, and they beat him seriously. I put him in his house and locked the gate. Immediately I turned back, he opened the gate and ran back, said somebody go die today, somebody go die today. A boy of this age.
And for what reason?
Fighting now. What will cause their fighting? It's true play. You see?
But those are kids. We're talking about students in the universities.
Agreed. How do they grow to that level? If you don't know how to be a good kid, you can't know how to be a good adult. It's a chain. You see, when you're supposed to be in school, you are in the house doing some other miscreant things that can lead you to social dislocation. So we should not look at it that the university alone are on strike. Now the NLC said they want to join them. Why should NLC join them? Is that the problem of NLC? Because Sanu and what did the other one? Nasu. Sanu and Nasu are on strike. Therefore, you want to join them. Is that the pressing issue? Where is NLC when we are talking of a budget padding? Where is NLC when our moribund companies are dying and they are saying the Ajakuta salary in a year is more than a whole ministry? Where is NLC that they cannot talk? Where is NLC when we're having capital flight, where we're having Jackpa, having everything? They sat down, but we just look, they peep into all some of the companies that are not paying well, some of the government officials, the parasites that are not paying well, they go on strike. Are they meant to strike over salaries? That's why I call them Nigerian strike, salary strike parasita. You have pressing issues in the country. NSC will not look into all those ones. But increase our salary to 1 million. If you don't, we'll go on strike. Pay this with the areas. If you don't, we'll go on strike. No. They are supposed to be a pressure group. They are the mouth of the masses.
As that word you use, pressure group. So basically, they are supposed to put pressure on offices that are found lacking.
For one thing.
Yes. By doing so, of course, they have to embark on strikes. That's a form of.
I get what I'm saying. They are not supposed to strike on salaries issues alone.
Okay.
What affects the country in general? You can go on strike on that to press home your point. Why can't they say, okay, we are buying fuel at this price? Do you know we sell our crude? They refine the crude.
And we buy
it back. Does that make sense? Why not say, okay, let us go into partnership. Refine our crude. Take 20% for your variable cost. Return the other one to us. And it's not going to be the issue of we are buying back. They refine, they bring back to us. They remove their own percentage, then the crude becomes Nigerian. So why do you sell crude? You go and buy back the finished product at a higher price. Has NLC ever thought of that line?
All right, let's look at another headline here on the front page of the Daily Trust. Quite an, in fact, an alarming one, a scary one, because I just had to talk about it. Natip arraigns Alliance Hospital and staff over organ trafficking. This is not the first time we are hearing about organ trafficking, but the fact that it's coming from a hospital, that is allegedly from a hospital. So is this the future for our medical practices here in Nigeria?
Look, this thing has been on for a long time.
And then we're just having this case right now. So
yeah, this one is just coming up because we now have social medias everywhere. There is no longer secret. Even two of us now does anything criminal in this place, you will be thinking that there's only two of us are here. But in the next 5 minutes, the internet has carried it. That is what is bringing out this book. If I am not lying, I know a hospital in Lagos. You can get any type of child you want there. If you want a male, to tell them, look, I want a male, and if you give birth to a baby girl, a male child will come home with you. There was one of our security guards, a malam then, not guarding our house directly, but the house opposite our own, in Okota area of Lagos. The wife went to the hospital to deliver. In the evening, I came back and said, congrats, so I heard that your wife was put to bed. He said, but the pikin had died. Pikin had died, where dead body? He said, hospital, not show me, hospital at the way. That the child died and the hospital management threw the child away. What is the meaning of that one? They've sold the child. That is, things are happening in the country. But if it happens to another man, there is no power to press it home. We have so many children in homes today that are not even biological children of those people. Not their own fault. Because they can be in a coma. When a woman delivers, they are somehow down.
Yes.
They just can't rush the child that they want to go and bathe the child. Before you know it, they exchange the child. Several stories will come up. And you cannot go and tell the person that, no. Well, you don't even know the sex. Some of them will not allow you to see the sex of the child you gave birth to. That is why women, when you go into labor, make sure your own person is there to monitor what is happening there. Otherwise, you may come home with another person's child. And that is why you see the reason today that we have so many crimes going around everywhere.
But organ trafficking?
What leads to it? Is it not from human beings? People even outside that people sell their organs to make money. There is hunger. Okay, what of that one in Abuja they talked about?
No, if someone goes and says, let's be practical about it. If someone goes and says, I want to sell my own organ.
Yes.
That's, in as much as that is not allowed, that is a different case entirely. But for someone to, because I've heard cases, I've heard of cases where people went to get a particular surgery and came out with only one kidney.
In most cases, those people don't even know.
They don't know.
They give them addictive
they don't
drugs.
know that. So, if this is happening in the hospital in broad daylight, what are we left with? Yeah,
well, of course, that shows you the decadence we are passing through worldwide, not only in Nigeria here, worldwide. I've had a case of a man who said he took his son to India for an operation. When they came back, the boy was feeling funny. What is the issue? When they examined him properly, they saw that there is a line on the tummy. You can't even notice it. It's like a tiny thread. When they checked very well, they saw that it was an operation. And what was that operation? They removed one of the kidneys. Can the man now go back to India to sue? That was how they have to live with that case. It happened everywhere, Miriam. This one is just one of 1 million cases. So if somebody is saying that is a new thing, no. Have they not come with a story of where a container was intercepted with only male genital organ? Did you not hear it?
Yes, we did. What
did they do to that story? Did you hear anything again from that story till date? So it's a major problem that we have to deal with. But who deals with it?
Who deals with it? Yeah, exactly.
Who deals with the problem?
Who ought to deal with this problem normally?
It's the federal government through the NAPTIP. But are they meeting up?
It's safe to say the NAPTIP is currently doing their job because, like as it's stated here on the Daily Trust, they have arranged the Alliance Hospital and their staffs over organ trafficking. Let's follow the story and see how it ends.
There are so many child delivery homes. I call them child delivery homes where you hire ladies, you put them there, you bring men to come and impregnate them. They give birth, you take the children from them, you ask the women to go, you bring another set again. And most of those ones, the children are being sold one, some of them, they harvest their organs. And this thing goes on and on and on and on. All this is happening because of the quest for money. And the quest for money supersedes integrity. That is why you see that in most parastatals, we have mediocres at the top there. Because when you have the money, they believe you are all at all. They don't want to look at that person with integrity, who can run an organization perfectly well, but the person who has that money to throw. Two brothers were having issues one day. The senior was talking, shut up, I'm your senior. Come on, sit down. When I'm talking, you don't talk. The boy looked at everybody, he was not feeling embarrassed. He now called him and said, bros, get up past you. Was he telling him, say, I get money past you, so So the guy just looked at his Adam. Nobody wanted to know what the senior man was talking. But because the judge, you know, I said, look, this day, you know, so you not get him, but the day I get her here. The matter ended there. Until we put integrity over questionable wealthy people. No, these things will not stop.
Well, comrade, God save us all. God save Nigeria. But at this point, we have to go because we've exhausted the time for this show. But thank you very much for coming on air.
Yes, my heart still goes for the Okwama, Okwama, what do you call it? Okwama people. Yeah. I played with the military, the federal government to play shit tears, because when a life is lost, you can never regain it back.
Yes, thank you very much, comrade, for coming on air. I look forward to having you as usual.
Oh yes, thank you, Miriam. You know, you're always a tonic. Yes, a morning tonic, and when I go back home now, I'm going to take a hot tea to remember the session with Miriam.
Hopefully I become holy water at some point.
Hallelujah, somebody.
But with that being said, thank you very much for tuning in and staying with the newspaper review here on Quest today. But don't change the station, because coming up next is the big story, and that will be spearheaded by Michael Gobadia. But from myself, from Comrade Ifeodomo, and from my crew, have yourself a lovely day, and bye for now.